Bonjour, buongiorno, and welcome everyone to the closing conference of the Third International Canada-Italy Forum on Artificial Intelligence. My name is Enrico Cremonese, and as you've probably heard by now, I'm a Senior Director of Product Management at IVADO Labs. I am honored to have had the chance to be with you over the last 2 days and to be emceeing this morning's closing session. Following on the heels of the opening conference and the thematic roundtables of the last 2 days, our speakers will continue to address the broader issues in AI. The next 2 hours will be structured in 4 main segments. First, we will hear from the rapporteur, who will provide summaries on the roundtables on sustainable mobility, energy and circular economy, as well as digital health. Ms. Tremblay, Mr. Leo, and Ms. Ouimet, our rapporteur, will also provide their expert perspectives on emerging trends and highlight possible areas of collaboration that conferences such as ours aim to promote. Professor Maurizio Sobrero from the Bologna Business School will then provide a perspective on the vision and future for artificial intelligence, setting the premises for the third segment, a panel discussion on critical and emerging themes pertaining to the safe and ethical application of artificial intelligence. The fourth and last segment of our plenary session will include our closing remarks. Let us begin. I would first like to invite Désirée Tremblay, Manager of R&D Partnerships and Grants at Dana TM4, who will report on the Sustainable Mobility Roundtable. Désirée, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Enrico. So you can pull up the slides right away. We had a fantastic session with high-quality presentations with deep insights into the applications of AI in sustainable mobility. Molto interessante. Now I have the challenge to try to condense that into 7 minutes, and I'm going to put my timer on. Yeah, here we go. You can change slides. Non è facile. So we divided the session into 2 parts. The first part was autonomous and connected vehicles, open data, and sharing data. So we had different people coming in from academia, from the industry, and from the government, and also from the city. You can change slides. So the highlights of this session is that we found out that according to Mr. Bertogna from the Università di Modena, we are in the third wave of AI, and the first and second wave kind of, did not catch on, but there is good premise that this time we will catch on, because now we have a lot of much more computing power. We have many tools available to us. We use parallel computing, neural networks, and tools such as NVIDIA are here to stay. So we think that this third wave will really catch on. During the panel, we had some discussions and we were able to extract some success factors. Firstly, the technology has to be ready. And according to Mr. Sanghedolce from FEV, the technologies are available today, and already some technologies are commercially available. They have, for example, a tool that helps you determine the health of the batteries in a vehicle. So technology is definitely ready. However, there are other factors that we have to take into account. So according to Mrs. Zarzani from the city of Montreal, it's important that the regulatory environment be ideal. It's important that the technology be at the service of the citizens and not the opposite. And we have to work in a transparent way to have regulatory systems in place to protect the confidentiality of the citizens and to protect their security too. Finally, we had a comment from Mr. Moronesti from QMAP, who claims that good infrastructure is key. And when I talk about infrastructure, it's the data lakes, how you transfer data. And so it's important to be able to acquire data from different sources and to be able to exchange it, also bringing us to the point in an open environment. We need to share data to be able to extract the maximum from the potential that AI will provide us. You can change slides. So the second subject that we addressed was, we went a little bit more deeper into technology. We discussed the use of AI for simulation and also the use of digital twins. And you can change slides. We had three panelists. what we found out from the CTA BRP, Maxime Desjardins-Goulet has claimed that there is an explosion of applications. These technologies can be used on several different applications, such as using the technologies to simulate vehicles to be able to enhance their performance, optimize their performance. You can use the same technologies on subcomponents of vehicles. And he had an example where they did this with a clutch, where there's machine learning in that. And also you can, Mr. Mastino from the University of Politecnico di Milano said that you can use these technologies in processes, and also you can use them to simulate the vehicle in its environment, such as traffic. And we had Signor Ganzaroli from Autostrade, who showed us some examples of where they're actually, using this tool for planning and anticipating the security and accidents and things like that. So, and also Mr. Mastino, Prof. Mastino, he's developing a model to teach an autonomous vehicle how to go in a roundabout, because apparently that's difficult for autonomous vehicles. What we also learned is that digital twins can be combined with artificial intelligence. These are two highly complex systems, but today with the tools we have, it is possible to combine the two together and really get highly performing systems. So you can just click, and I have the future trend that we have. If you can just do a click down to go to the other slide. Oh, so yeah, click 2 times. So the future trend we identified is that now that we have these very advanced tools, we can now have what we call digital observers or virtual observers. So there's many applications that now can be using, and this is all still in its infancy. It's the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot of much more to come in the future. So you can go to the other page. Yeah, click again, please. So there are threats and opportunities for the use of AI in sustainable mobility. Now, the major threat that we have identified was it's the mindset. Mr. Ganzaroli from Società Autostrade says that we are used to thinking in silos, whereas we should start thinking in a holistic manner and think of the whole systems. So, and that brings us to education and awareness. Mr. Rainville from FNCO says that, whereas people working in this field understand it, regular people do not understand that we need their data, their open data, in order to teach our systems. So, and then we are still allowed to own those new algorithms developed. So there's a lot of work in the mindset. And however, now that the vehicles are being connected and the connectivity has now given access to data, and so now we can really use the potential of the data available to us can bring. There are a lot of applications that can be brought, such as planning, operations planning, and fleet planning. You can change page. So the objective of the forum is to create collaborations, and we realize that the Italians are very good at traffic management and planning, focus on road safety and maintenance, and have started to develop systems where there can be collaborations and open data. Whereas in Canada, we are good at electric vehicles and we have expertise in winter simulations. So if you can click, this is my last comment for today. Click once, next page. Okay, so I suggest Ms. Prof. Mastino to add and factor in the icy conditions, and then we can do a competition where a Canadian driver will compete against an Italian autonomous vehicle, and we'll see, and we'll have bets on who wins. Thank you to all the panelists. Grazie a tutti I presentatori. Ci vediamo l'anno prossimo.
Thank you very much, Désirée. Our next speaker is Pietro Leo, Chief Scientist at IBM Italy. He will be reporting on the Sustainable Energy and Circular Economy table. Pietro, over to you.
Thank you, grazie. And also of my side, I'm starting the chrono since it is also from my side, an hard challenge to report the, let's say, in such a sense also not only a quantity, but also complex argument that been shared during the workshop. So during the workshop, we tried to combine sustainability, in particular, two main call to action forms as energy transition, circular economy, and artificial intelligence. These are two broad concepts that have more to share, in addition, of course, to the popularity. Although apparently quite distant topics, we learned during the workshop that they have a number of intersections and in overall a common aim: improve the well-being of individuals and our society, of course. It is well known to all of us that the main result of the recent COP26 meeting has been probably the possibility to create a larger consensus about the need to act and act soon to contrast the climate change. A quick energy transition, as well as a stronger circular economy approach applied to more and more industries, are two relevant actions to obtain UNGS objectives. A key question posed during the workshop was to speculate how artificial intelligence is positioned with respect to these two macro actions, and what basically emerged from the talks through definitions, visions, and practical use cases, or spark talks, as we used to say, is that artificial intelligence solutions and other key digital technologies are acting as an accelerator to reach our sustainability objectives. As the speakers described, there are multiple ways to do that, and the call to new forms of collaboration to speed up problem solving thanks to artificial intelligence and other digital technology was the key message shared. By the way, considering the inherent complexity of energy transition to clean energy forms and the activation of multiple taxons, the big question is where to accelerate. This is the main point of the workshop at the end of the day. And through the speaker, the workshop added the main value to show possible approaches to speed up the collaboration and leverage data and AI to this extent. Let's consider, for example, one of the showcase of the workshop was around the clean energy transition. A big observation reported was that the materials represent up to 80% of the cost of the clean energy technology. So in fact, we need new materials for more efficient solar and biofuel conversion processes to full transportation, or materials to deal with hydrogen, the materials to efficiently capture and convert the CO2, new materials for more efficient energy storage, and so on. Artificial intelligence and other technologies such as edge performance computing, HPC, and big data could play a big role here, and especially to accelerate how we invent and discover new materials. We learned great stories during the workshop about the need to accelerate discovering materials with the support of AI from Innovation Mission in Canada and from ENEA that is starting in Italy, a larger platform that with a very interesting cross-country collaboration in this case. As one of the main lessons learned from COVID-19 is that if we have a great challenge in front of us to solve, we can solve it by catalyzing the interest and the collaboration of a multitude of brilliant minds on a global scale. And soon as we will have the results, see, for example, what you obtained with the vaccines. In a similar way, during the workshop, we learned that materials discovery is the key element of the innovation cycle of energy conversion, transmission, and so on. And the key answer to this is to build a new generation of a platform that integrate AI, HPC, and big data to this effort. New materials is also foundational element to accelerate the transition to the circular economy. In fact, we learned during the workshop that AI and digital technology could speed up the transition from a linear economy to circular ones and contribute to formulating new products as well as to invent new business models. We learned the multiple examples, very, very interesting, of application systems that support the circular economy applications, for example, in the agriculture, water management and treatment, earth monitoring like GeoCart, as well as application and platform that bring to a new scale of observation and action, even in apparently low-tech industries such as real estate, as the Canadian Brainbox AI doing in monitoring the data around the buildings, for example. Very cool stories, and a lot of collaboration here between the overall countries, our territories, for example. As a final message that emerged from the workshop, from my point of view, and some sort of long-term actions that was also proposed by the speakers at the end of the workshop, was that the need to have to monitor our progress constantly, and not only, let me say, to think a long-term target like the 2030 or the 2050. We need the systems, and AI could help us interpret data to have a constant monitoring of our progression about sustainability. Digital technology, but in combination with AI, can help in our transition to have a more sustainable economy. And but we need trusted technology, and more trusted AI was underlined during the workshop. The need to push on enlarging multiple forms of collaborations between academic industries at various levels. And finally, another important story from my point of view is the need to renew and work not only to produce cool technology or application, that this is done, but the important story is also to work about the need to work on the business model to redesign a number of processes to succeed. So more or less, is what I learned during the workshop, just in time.
Thank you very much, Pietro. And now Nathalie Ouimet, Vice President at Montréal ENVivo, will provide a summary of this morning's Digital Health Roundtable. Nathalie, c'est à vous.
Bonjour, I'm really happy to be with you this morning. I have, as you said, the privilege to present the summary of our session on digital health that closed up just 20 minutes ago. So please be generous with me. I did my best to summarize something during the break we had. So the session brings together great innovators in digital health, and the presentation what I found were real concrete example of digital technology that brings real value in the healthcare setting, leading to an improved patient health, ease clinical decision, and improved efficacy of care, to name a few. Dr. Yves Joannette from the Institut de Santé Numérique de l'Université de Montréal was the moderator of the session, and is my work since he was underlining the major point for each intervention. The first part was two presentations. The presenter were having a little bit more time than the other, you will see. So we're in 10 minutes around. We had Mona Magalise from the Sylvie Lambert's research team that present to us the e-impact program, which is an application on patient-reported outcome. What I learned from that notably is that their innovation is also in the way they integrate the tool in the clinical setting standard of care by working closely with several clinicians and patients in the co-development process. So that was really a good way to implement this application in the oncology sector. Then we had the presentation of Dr. Franco Moltoni, who present us a very nice robotic rehabilitation device called EXO. To name one, he had a few examples in his presentation, but all the presentation was about our data. When you collect several data, you can understand the specificity of each patient and then adapt the treatment to the specific capacity to control, for balance control in this case, and then to have the rehabilitation program well adjust with the capacity of the individual and with the improvement they will face with time. AI is analyzing data just to really have a specific match between the program, the treatment itself, and the capacity and the specificity of the patient. Common challenge they pointed out is related to the implementation of those digital tools in standard of care, education programs in the regular courses of formation for healthcare professionals, but also continuous learning initiative for the actual personnel that are already working in our healthcare system is key. So we need to focus on interesting solution. The other point they noticed is that we need to have expertise in change management within the healthcare system to support the digital transformation that we need to develop in the following year. Then the second part, we had 7 short presentations of company and research initiatives, both from Italia and Quebec. And I will just present you quick highlight of each of them to give you a flavor of what we had. So the first was, then I will look at my notes here, just one second. Oh, Nicolas Baudet from, yes, from Ouimet, a Quebec-based company. He pointed out that we need to bring together a large amount of data to create data-driven decision tools, which highlights the importance to harmonize in many ways the way of collecting data. If we want to create more value with AI-based clinical decision tools, we need to have the best possible data within the system, and that's a real challenge. Jacopo Secco from Omnidermal is a young startup from Italy that presents is a high-powered device for skin wound care. So with that device, of course, the patient can go back home earlier and have a close relationship with the healthcare professional to follow the wound increase, healing. Stefano Cattorini from BREX, he presents us what I call it in my note, a supply chain of AI-driven application. Within a few years, I guess, AI application will be common goods almost. So we will need an integrated system to have access to all those applications and be able to use it easily. It has to be easy access if we want to integrate more. Then we have the research part, which starts with Stéphane Gay from the Mental Health Institute of University in Montréal. One thing he pointed out is how the pandemic we just faced really pushed forward the digital transformation in the healthcare system. And this is a real opportunity to really go further. Okay, we experience a lot of teleconsultation, but teleconsultation in the case of telepsychotherapy, the example that he was given, you can bring all the virtual VR, virtual reality environment in a Zoom type of consultation that you cannot do in the office. So there's a lot of opportunity that propose better health for better treatment for patients. Manuel Roveri, he presents simply 3 numbers. The first one is 30%, which is 30% of working activity that will be driven by AI. It doesn't mean that 30% of the job will be replaced by AI technology, but within everyone's job, there will be around 30% of activity that can be automatically set up using AI analysis. 1% of data is actually processed. So there's a lot more to do. So there's a big opportunity to do better. And finally, the importance to bring data processing, analyzing of those data close where the data is generated. Sara Ahmed from McGill University here in Montreal present to us the brilliant platform, which is like a dual platform. One is for the patient, the other one is for clinician. bringing together several tools, information. There's the patient-reported outcome, patient education tools, community resource available, so a lot of information. And there's the tele-rehab, for example, program available for clinicians. She talked about something that what seems to me very important is to maybe we should have an international or at least a multi-party thought on how to harmonize our practice to introduce digital health within the healthcare system. So everyone is doing his own experiments. If we can share that together, probably that we can be more efficient. And finally, Lorenzo Chiari from the University of Bologna, he presents how data generated by individual can provide a real value for the whole community, the whole society. So the sustainability provided by the analysis of that data will help, of course, the sustainability of the whole healthcare system. So it's important that each individual understand the role of his own data in improving the entire society ecosystem. And all this, the session was end up by the Declaration of a Responsible AI. I'm sorry, I forget the real translation, by Jonathan Abigour. So that's a roundup of the session we had this morning. Very interesting session. Merci.
Merci beaucoup, Nathalie. I would now like to invite Maurizio Sobrero, professor at the Bologna Business School, to present a conclusion on these roundtables and comment on the future implications of AI. Maurizio, over to you.
Yes, good morning and good afternoon, and thanks for inviting me. Those who came before me had a challenge in summarizing such a long list of inspiring moments and talks, which are becoming the rule in these meetings, which I've been fortunate to participate since its first edition. So now I'll try to propose you three thoughts to just start our new thinking in next year's event. Let me classify this as three different declinations of the word sustainability that we saw today applied in the technologies that we have been discussing ever since the first meeting. And it would be environmental sustainability, social sustainability, and competitive sustainability. I will finish with the competitive sustainability because it is the habit of this summit to engage many companies, and I believe we must think also in these terms. So if we think about environmental sustainability, let me use a small sentence. I would say from fascination to awareness. Later last year, another of the many pioneering activities of Joshua Benjo came up on the press, and that was the setting up of an initiative called Code Carbon, which essentially made available to everybody the possibility to check the impact of the specific code that anybody was writing on many direct and indirect sources of resource extraction and use. Now, whenever we have new technologies, we are fascinated by the possibilities that came up, and we tend to think that they're always going to be better than previous generation ones. And digital is always associated with clean. And clearly, we today are indeed saving a lot of carbon footprint by not traveling among Montreal and Bologna and vice versa. But at the same time, what we're doing is not neutral. So what is important and came up in many of the meetings today is to all become aware, which doesn't mean to discard the many progresses that have been doing by many people on the field by reducing energy consumption, increasing effectiveness and efficiencies, and deploying better sources. But as we all know, awareness brings commitment, and commitment brings behavioral change, which is another important point that is required with respect. So let me now turn to social sustainability, and I will share with you again a little sentence, which is from multiplying opportunities to distributing opportunities. Technologies might be fantastic to open up new, let's say, services, new possibilities for those who can afford those technologies. In many of the discussions today, we have been exposed to high-level research and to applications that are requiring markets that needs to be very much developed in many grounds. So in this sense, the technologies have provided an opportunity already in many cases to level up the possibility for those who have less to become a part of this game. We can remember the beginning of the TLC revolution, for example, with the very simple tools like a phone, to distribute in Kenya the M-Pesa project, which allowed many people who were not bankable, as we say, to become part of a trading that was aware of the possibility of using money in a different way. And we all know many stories about those general trends. Now we have the same challenge here when we develop algorithms that are very sophisticated and in a way to decide if we are content with simply having access to these opportunities, or to let many people become not just users but architects. So this brings me to the final note that we have been seeing in some of the talks, and it's actually not surprising because the regions that are engaged in this bilateral event have always been very, let's say, caring of their population and have put welfare in many grounds on the top of their agenda. But we don't need to think that digital technologies will make it possible without our thinking and our intervention. This brings me to my third thought. And I'm intentionally being brief and a little bit up to the point because I know it's been a long day, and I hope that with only 3 things and 3 thoughts, they might stick into your memory of this day. So the third thought is about competitive sustainability. And here, let me use a different sentence, from data puddles to data lake. Now, today we are very, we like a lot to talk about data lake, to talk about a lot of information. Well, we need to have what is actually the basis to train our algorithms and learn more from the data. Indeed, we have a great experience on this using data that sometimes we can access without too many problems. This is typically consumer data or data that can be manipulated without too much consent. Now, at the same time, we also know in economics that monopolies and oligopolies are not so efficient. And indeed now in many fields, we are seeing a high level of concentration. Why can't we really think better of some trends in a different perspective? Let me say it this way. In these events, we often have many companies who are engaged in business-to-business applications. Those applications are certainly eager to have as many data as the consumer-based application, but we have problems. My data is sensitive to share with that of my competitor and vice versa. Now, this is not a novel problem. Back 30 years ago, when there were similar issues in R&D, the discussion about setting up cooperative R&D initiatives came about in the public domain when everybody was more concerned on raising individual investments in R&D. And so we learned how better results with greater effectiveness can be achieved by finding a way to mitigate the possible effects of competition at certain stages of the development process. We are now facing a very similar challenge. How can we transform many data ponds into a larger, let's say, at least a lake, or from the puddle to the ponds to the lake? This is an issue that technically is being discussed as data syndication. That means how can we put together data that are proprietary, dependent upon other subjects who are in competitions among them, or have some form of sensibility that makes them not so easily shareable. This is a topic that is mostly being discussed in the health area, where we talk about patient data. But my suggestion for you as a thought also for the future meeting is to consider this as a very relevant industrial issue to be considered as a competitive sustainability issue for the full deployment of all the energies and opportunities that AI can provide us. Clearly, for many of our territories, this is very relevant given the size of the companies, their characteristics, and the need to join forces as they did in other venues and ventures. The premises to go in these directions are very, say, exciting, if I can use a strong word, because we have seen a lot of energy in our discussions and a lot of differences that are, though, all directed towards a common understanding and a common goal of achieving ambitious results. So it is no chance that in the previous round we heard about the Montreal Declaration of Sustainable AI as a topic that has been following these meetings in the future. And I'm sure this will be something that we need to carry on and treasure also in future meetings. So whenever we talk about issues of security, of the data, whatever that can be, cyber or not cyber, whatever you mean, I would suggest that we consider these three different levels of sustainability: environmental, so from fascination to awareness; social, so from multiplying to distributing; and competitive, from data puddles to data lake. And thank you very much again for the invitation and for the time you gave me for this speech.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sobrero. The next portion of our conference is a panel discussion on the emerging themes in artificial intelligence. We'll touch upon ethics, protection of data, and cybersecurity. To moderate the panel and introduce you to our panelists is journalist Sara Moraca. Sara, over to you.
Yeah, dear sirs, dear madam, it's a pleasure for me to be here. So, globalization, the management of different sectors, and the collaboration between public, private, and business entity presuppose use of increasingly complex and articulated informations. There is a lot of talk about big data, referring to computer data that is so large, fast, or complex, difficult or impossible to process with traditional methods. Assessing and storing large amounts of information for analysis has been around for a long time. The importance of big data does not revolve around its quantity, but its use. For example, we can access data from many sources, analyze it, and find answers that allow us to reduce costs, shorten deadlines, develop new products, and optimize offers that take smarter decisions. Big data was also important in the last 2 years of the pandemic to understand how SARS-CoV-2 was evolving around the world and to be able to make predictions based on objective and reliable data. Alongside this possibility, there are just as many ethical and social challenges. In these days of this forum, many of these topics have been discussed, and I would like to start with some of the examples on what are the biggest challenges we face today in the field of digitalization, taken from the experience of the panelists present here, which I'm going to introduce you. So, Edmondo Grassi, professor of sociology of cultural and communication processes at San Raffaele University, Michele Colajanni, professor of computer engineering at the University of Bologna, Sancho Bassini of Cineca, Marcella Bell of Cybereco, Alexander Lagarde of Montréal International, Guido Boella, professor at the University of Torino and director of the computer science department in the same university. So I will give 1 minute for each panelist, and Professor Grassi, I'm leaving you the stage.
Thank you, Sara. Hello, everyone, and I would like to thank you for inviting me. as well as professor. I'm the coordinator of the Social Science Committee for the Centro Studi Italia Canada. About the biggest challenges, I strongly believe that the first concerns the education of the person and the perception of an immanent technology such as AI, capable of acting, co-acting, and above all, retroacting in the daily life of the individual, undermining the anthropocentric vision and delineating new paradigms of social political nature. And the second one maybe concerns the machine landscapes, because we are readapting society to AI, and most significant infrastructures are almost devoid of human beings. Finally, perhaps we should learn from Goffman that if our life is a play, I think that we can say that the AI could help us to observe society through another philosophical and sociological perspective, becoming a crucial ally against total institution and not just a simple tool. Thank you, Sara.
I will give you now the stage to Professor Colajanni. I think there is a problem with the audio, maybe. I can't really hear from you.
Can you now? Yes?
Yeah, now it's okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So good afternoon and thank you for the invitation. Problems, issues. The first issue is the quality of data and the applications. I mean, where do we want to apply autonomous decisions? Because all of this artificial intelligence and training based on the data is based on a representation of the reality. We know that the reality is different, and we know also that any model is wrong, but some of them is useful. I would say that even some of them is risky. We cannot think that AI is the panacea of all the issues. We cannot solve and we cannot apply it everywhere, but in some application is very, very useful, especially because it can be faster, much faster than human. So the problem here is where we want to apply the artificial intelligence, and can we decide when it works or not? And this is a society decision that we are not taking into account. Actually, we apply it without any previous decision. This can be a risk for all the entire society, especially not only in the training part, but especially in the application and in the level of autonomy that we want to give to the machines, to the algorithms, and to the other devices that use some artificial intelligence. Thank you.
Thanks, Professor Colajanni. I'm giving now the stage to Sanzio Bassini of Cineca.
Good afternoon, thank you for the invitation. I will try to share very briefly an experience related to the contextualization of the applications of machine learning and artificial intelligence in the context of facing the issues of the SARS-CoV pandemic. We are leading the infrastructures for supporting AI in the project funded by the European Commission that it would address the managing of the course of contagious. Now, there is the big challenge related to what will be all the issues for privacy and managing of sensible data. But there was the big issues related to providing service and also to providing what will be the characterizations and let's say the opportunity for some reverse engineering process related to what will be the forecast and the model that it would lead the forecast related to the trend for the spread of the contagious. Very big issues eventually. Okay, so and that it pose on one side what it has been in terms of big opportunities. So managing in a way that by being of model you can predict what is the prospect in the forecast of the thread related to the spread. On the other hand, the point related what it will be the decision support for taken decision that would affect an issue. So specific and so very much important as the management of the pandemic. So that is the big challenge, and that I think that it would give the let's say plastic pictures of what it may do mean facing the opportunity on one side and the big issues on the others for addressing the capability and enabling potentiality of artificial intelligence. Thank you for the
Thank you. I'm giving now the stage to Marcella Bell of Cybereco.
Thank you for the invitation. Good morning, good afternoon. Basically, one of the major challenges is with AI and big data. We understand that there will be concentration of the data, personal information, critical information. So how do we protect that information? And considering the level of cyber threats today, which is worldwide, I would say it's not only local to any country. So how do we basically protect this data? On the other side, basically, also what can be also an interesting challenge is how do we use AI basically to help improving the protection of our environments, considering this increasing level of cyber threats. I think AI can play a big role as well, and we see more and more solutions that are based on AI as well. So I can see on both sides, one, protecting the data, which is a major challenges these days, and also how can we leverage the AI technology. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm now giving the stage to Alexander Lagarde of Montréal International.
Thank you very much, Sara, and I'm really happy to be there. Hello, everyone. So I think that the pandemic has shown us that companies are accelerating more and more their investment in digital infrastructure. And it's a good thing, but as change is positive, it also has to be managed. And there are some, of course, challenges that are presented in terms of investment in digital infrastructure and investment in data management, data analytics. Cybersecurity, of course, is one of those challenges, we think, and more data and more digital transformation essentially also means greater cybersecurity risk. So that is something that is that has to be managed. The other challenge also, which is brought by AI and manipulation of data, of course, is education or upskilling. Essentially, our education system needs to be modern enough, or at least to prepare our young people for the challenges and opportunities of the digital world. So this is something very important, and we need to provide unskilled workers with the training and digital literacy they need so they can continue to make a positive contribution. So those are part of the challenges, we think. And you know, we're really on the forefront of those challenges in Montreal. AI is a very important sector, and cybersecurity too. So I think that there are some choices to be made in terms of how these investments will come out, and also how we need to manage the risk associated with everything that we do, and it has been accelerated since the pandemic.
Thanks so much. And finally, for this round, closing this first round, I'm giving the stage to Professor Guido Boella.
Hello, everyone. For me, the biggest challenge is paradoxically, the regulatory one, how AI should or can be regulated. There are ongoing major efforts in the European Union with the draft regulation on AI and other ones on data. There has been the GDPR, but still some problems are unsolved. The draft regulation addresses AI with a risk-based approach, but it seems to ignore other aspects like the economical ones, the impact of AI on increasing, likely impact of AI in increasing inequality, and the lack of inclusiveness. And as it happened in the past, lawlessness is a situation where things can go wrong. Some minority can take advantage of a bigger share of wealth and power. So a shared, because it's a worldwide challenge, a shared approach on regulation is most urgent.
Thanks so much, Professor Bella. So now I'm going to the second slot dedicated to the ethics. So since the forum focuses on relations between Canada and Italy, I would like to ask you to Professor Grassi, the first question in this round. What are the social cultural differences between Italy and Canada in the management of artificial intelligence?
Thank you. And I believe that there is a common historical framework or background with respect to the social relevance to AI and its ethical value and social implication. For example, we could mention Marshall McLuhan or Luciano Gallino. The first one is a Canadian, the other one is Italian, for the studies about media and technology. So we can think that both countries have expressed interest, but the differences are that I think that Canada has always stood out for its transdisciplinary spirit. The first one. The second one for an accurate forecast of AI development, and the third one for investments, not only in the technical sector. We have to think that in Canada is the country where there is the headquarters of the largest academic hub in the field of deep learning, MILA, but above all for its humanistic perspective on technology. Italy has had some very relevant points of reference, such as Laboratorio Gallino in Torino, or the reality of the Italian Institute of Technology in Genova for years. But in the socio-humanistic sector, the extent of this innovation has been underestimated to recover in a substantial way in the last period, especially with respect to the ethical metrics and principles that can socially guide the encounter between person and machine. I think so that to date, I believe that a close collaboration of exchange of knowledge and personnel can benefit both countries. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Professor Grassi. And my second question, when we talk about ethics, it is essential to introduce the topic of policy. And I would then ask to Alexander Lagarde to tell us about examples of policies implemented by the city of Montreal in the context of digitalization to attract investment from other countries and establish an increasingly thriving ecosystem.
Thank you very much, Sara. Well, you know, during the 1990s, the city of Montreal and the Quebec government decided to stop competing with the manufacturing sector in Ontario and decided to focus on our own sectors and value-added sectors, especially in the ICT sector. And why? Because we have a talent pool of dedicated people working in those fields. So the Quebec government decided to implement a cluster-based strategy of developing these sectors like aerospace, like life sciences, and also ICT. And the idea was really to help companies set up shop in Quebec and in Montreal in particular by developing tax credit program in very specific sector. And those tax credit actually help companies hire more labor at that time. And it's something that we use in various sectors, but it also helped local companies to foster growth here. So it's something that we actually used in convincing companies to set up shop. Other things also as well is the immigration policy. We can see that a restrictive immigration policy when it comes to bringing foreign talent can be an impediment. We can see this in the US, for example, when the Trump government decided to restrict the access to H-1B work permits, which is dedicated for tech workers. So in Canada, we have an open immigration policy. And we know that foreign workers is also an injection of foreign expertise, of technological know-how, and for us it's a plus in the local workforce population. So those are examples of policies that the Quebec and the Canadian government and the City of Montreal implemented in order to foster growth, especially in the artificial intelligence sector.
Thanks so much. I'm giving now the stage to Professor Broella, and I'm asking how to facilitate an approach to the development of artificial intelligence that does not neglect, but rather places ethics at the center of reflection.
Thanks. Contrary to what I said before on regulation, on the ethical side, I'm more positive. There are many initiatives trying to put together technology and ethics. In many calls in the new Horizon Europe work program, there is explicitly written that you must make also in the proposal a task about the ethical aspects of AI and on ICT. The debate is spreading also in the society, thanks, for example, to people like Professor Luciano Floridi of Oxford and Bologna, who is disseminating this problem. Recently, together with several bioethics philosophers, we created the Italian Society for the Ethics of Artificial Intelligence, and also in the universities, there are emerging several interdisciplinary study programs putting together, for example, philosophy and AI. So there is an increasing consciousness, and also enterprises are more and more taking into account the ethical aspects, and also employees in big ICT enterprises are soliciting the owners of the companies towards these issues. Take, for example, the case of the whistleblower Francis Haugens that brought to the attention to everyone the problems of Facebook from the ethical point of view. However, on the other end, I think that the reflection of the relationship between ethics and AI, independent in principle, so not in the application by researchers or developers, it needs still development. We are not understanding yet the philosophical point of view, the impact that AI can have. And so it's not only a problem of having an ethics of AI, but also to understand how ethics changes in a world where AI will have an impact. Professor Maurizio Mori, University of Torino, always remind us that there has been several decades ago a big change in ethics brought by technology. With biotechnologies in medicine from the 70s, there has been a complete and still ongoing restructuring of ethics itself. And I guess we need a similar development in philosophy concerning AI. And so this must precede the application of ethics in the research and in industry.
Thank you, Professor Boella. So I'm going now to the third slot dedicated to digital acceleration and the sustainability of AI. And sometimes we talk about the digital acceleration in the sense that the fast rhythm towards digital has been so rapid that other equally important valid goals from a social and environmental point of view have been lost from sight. According to an in-depth study conducted by Boston Consulting Group, the use of artificial intelligence systems would be able to reduce in the next 10 years greenhouse gas emission by companies from 5% to 10%, generating up to 2.6 thousand billions of dollars in value, including new revenues and cost saving. So on this point, I would like to ask to Professor Colajanni, what are the main trade-offs you see in this area? What are the main challenges that will have to be faced?
Yeah, it's a tough question. However, as you say, there is a balance, there is a trade-off. All the AI and this moment of the society is a two-sided sword. So it's impossible to take advantage of the AI without paying some bills. For example, if we consider big data and AI, they require a lot of computational power, a lot of power for storing and evaluating and analyzing all the data. So we should invest. We should invest in building green data centers as far as we can go, because the huge data center will be the future industry of the digital society, like the manufacturing industry that polluted the world were at the basis of the physical society. The data center are the fundamental basis for the digital society, but they consume a lot of energy, so we should invest in improving them in terms of energy consumption. And from the other challenge, and I support the initial position of Professor Boella, that Europe should avoid to see this opportunity and challenge just from one part of the sword. And I will expect, in some sense, I invite Canada because they are in this game. On the other hand, we have an arbiter in Europe that regulate everything, but I would like to see a Europe that come down to play this game in the world. So we are building the future now. And the law based on a physical society is just a part of the forces that move the digital society now and in the next future. We should include the norms, so what is considered acceptable by the society, the term of services. I mean, the big providers are here and you cannot kill them. We should talk with them. We should find a compromise with them. We should also consider the market, what is convenient or not. We should consider the research. If we accept what is in the artificial intelligence rules, in the, I mean, I would say not the final decision, it will be impossible for European researchers to carry out most of the researches that they are doing now. So we should consider that we are creating other challenges in an already complex society. So the principles are fine, the ethics are fine, but we should also consider how we implement them. I mean, if there is a way to implement them, we cannot just rules, stop, you cannot do this, I put fine on this, but which is the reality is really different. I mean, the reality of the rest of the world is really far from what we are doing now. So I hope that Europe can take a new position about big data, artificial intelligence, and their applications.
Thanks so much, Professor Colajanni. I'm going now to ask to Dr. Bassini Is it realistic to think that highly energy-intensive systems such as high-performance computing and large data center will be more sustainable? What is the research doing in this regard?
Very important topic, and also very important, not just because of large data center facilities and large performance computing systems, but because of the industrial impact that the research that are in this context would affect what are many others devices that we are continuously using. I'm trying to explain the point. In 2010 has been posed a big challenge having in production an exascale system that it would work with the power capping of 20 megawatt. Now, we are talking about big figures, big numbers. 20 megawatt, it's a very big amount of energy, but to facing such a big challenge, what happens is that the microprocessors industries, the architectures of microprocessor designs, scientists and engineers, and also the persons, the experts that you would lead to a dynamic management of the power utilizations on board and inside to the microprocessors would address the challenge in order to reduce and improve the performances of the microprocessors front to a certain power capping, currently something in the order of 200 watt per, not more, talking about the microprocessor used on board on the servers, and to design the architectures based on accelerators that is going to lead the process. From this point of view, the outcomes and the impact, the industrial impact, is that at the end of the day, the microprocessor technology that we are using continuously on board of our smartphone and the tablet devices, but also that is progressively diffused in terms of Internet of Things, would have received a very, very strong and big impact. That is on one side. On the others, the dynamic management of the powers based on the monitoring of the functioning of the devices and the architectures, based on a continuous utilizations of machine learning and artificial intelligence techniques on board of the microprocessor and the systems, would minimizing the energy to solutions, whatever it will be the solution. So if it's the, I don't want to say, elaborating image processing on board of our smartphones, or addressing what it would be a big scientific challenge in terms of numerical simulations, but to managing the dynamic energy efficiency of the big systems. Finally, there have been a very others big and strong results in the management of the physical data centers, with the options and the objective to try to having one-to-one the limit in power energy use efficiency with respect of the electricity on board of the data center. Currently, we are very close to reaching such a limit. Just to make an example, in our current data centers, the Tier 0 system works with a power efficiency which is 1.2, which means that just the 20% of the energies is used for cooling the systems. Okay, one is the energy that is used for energizing the systems, so powered up the systems, while just the 20% it's used for cooling the systems. With respect of the new facility that we are designing and will be open in production in the second half of 2022 here at Bologna Tecnopolo, the PUE efficiencies would be in the order of 1.02. So in principle, we are going too close to be 1-to-1, which means no energy will be used for cooling the systems. That means that the most will be used in free cooling when the environmentals and temperatures it's at a certain level, and the others would be used in using direct liquid cooling, that it would be minimizing the utilization of electricity for cooling the system. So which means that there has been an enormous progress with respect of the capping the utilizations of the energy for the semiconductor and microprocessor technology, and on the same time a lot of progress with respect of the efficiencies in managing the data center. At the end of the day, it happens that the, let's say, life cycle of our batteries, or let's say the life cycle of our utilizations for the smartphone, tablets, and so on and so forth, is going to be quite significant. So we're talking about many hours of functioning with the same let's say battery charge. So which means that we are approaching a sustainability, or let's say that the power efficiencies utilization is really very, very, very high, and that I think that is quite good, quite important.
Thanks so much. I would go now to Dr. Labelle, and I would ask him what solution is Canada implementing in this important area?
I would say I will talk more about my area of expertise, which is cybersecurity, because Dr. Bassini was talking a lot about technologies and all that. But in order to keep it sustainable, I think we need to protect basically these technologies. And what we're pushing more and more is what we call cyber by design. So every time we are talking about technology, we should be talking about cybersecurity. It's going end to end right now, because we need to protect this environment to deliver what they should be deliver, and there's different level that should be kind of considered there. The other aspects are also we need to also work a bit more on the regulations as well, because if you want to make it also more sustainable, we need also to put some I would say guidance around that basically to achieve this sustainability. And in Quebec, we created the Ministry of Cybersecurity, in a sense that should help, I would say, putting the right level of regulations around that to ensure that these systems will be well protected and they will be able to achieve their sustainability. Because as we know these days, that kind of technologies or data centers and all that could be an interesting target for the cyber criminals. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So as the example just of the line point out, there is a growing need for cooperation. So cooperation between industries, but not just within industry, but cooperation within academia, industries, public and private sphere. The issue of data sharing therefore becomes fundamental, not only between organizations, as I say, but also different countries. The pandemic has shown how difficult it is to share data and trust non-proprietary data. There is, of course, the question of privacy, but that's not all. I would like to ask now to Mr. Lagarde a question. How is the Quebec government trying to make its digital system more resilient and secure?
Thank you, Sara. That's a very good question. Well, of course, cybersecurity is a very important topic for the Quebec government. And that's why when the government got elected back in 2018, they created a digital transformation ministry in order to address some specific issues in terms of challenges related to digital transformation. And more recently, the government decided to create a cybersecurity ministry in order to, well, first of all, it's the first of its kind in North America. And it shows really the priority that the Quebec government wants to give to that particular issue, which is cybersecurity. It's part of the current government to plan the digitalization of government services. Now, when we're talking about identification card, when we're talking about healthcare card, the objective is really to digitalize part of the different government services. Now, of course, when we're talking about digitalization of government services, we're also talking about cybersecurity. And that is why the ministry got created a few months ago. So it's part of the Quebec government's priority in order to develop a policy that meets the challenges of tomorrow. As we said earlier, I mean, we get more and more investment in digital infrastructure, not only coming from governments, but also being done by companies themselves. And the pandemic has accelerated that particular trend. Companies need to invest more and more in digitalization. Everybody's on Teams, on Zoom. Everybody needs to modernize their digitized tools. So, of course, it presents a big issue in terms of cybersecurity. So that's why the Quebec government decided to create that ministry to meet the challenges of tomorrow.
Thanks so much. So I would now go to Professor Boella. I would ask you how the development of artificial intelligence can affect the way we understand the concept of privacy. In fact, we create technology, but it then conditions our way of seeing the reality. What do you think of this theme, of this topic?
We have been warned by Professor Shoshana Zuboff that we entered a new age of economy, the age of surveillance capitalism, where data against our privacy and our consent, at least a conscious consent, are gathered using military intelligence tools. But there are also intellectuals like Benjamin Bratton in his new book, The Revenge of the Real, that advocates in favor of such a system of surveillance, or as he calls it, planetary scale computation. The argument is that such a solution would solve the fragmentation of our polarized world in opinion and subjective beliefs. So emphasizing that, that privacy is an individualistic concept, while exploiting data, objective data, could bring benefits to less included areas of people. But these really seems to bring into reality the nightmare that the French philosopher Michel Foucault called with the name of biopolitics, that is using data to manipulate and urge people, nudge people without even their consent or awareness. So yes, there is a big impact, and the debate at the intellectual level is on the one hand highlighting the risks, on the other hand instead advocating for a world based on objective data.
Thanks so much, very interesting point. So we are now going to the fifth slot, and we are talking about ethical issue. At the beginning of this session, we talk about the importance of big data and the development of artificial intelligence. This will happen above all for some sector, for example, for self-driving cars and interconnected vehicles, digital health, but also in the context of the circular economy and so-called industrial symbiosis. I would ask to Professor Grassi, what are the areas in which, in your opinion, it is most urgent to question the use of artificial intelligence? Are there ethical protocols shared at international level, especially on these more sensitive sectors?
Great question, Sara. Thank you. I think that the first one is a question that could find a multiplicity of answers based on the sociological perspective that we adopt to analyze it. But maybe the most urgent and central to the use of this technology of AI is the regulation of digital content through algorithms, the quality and the manipulation of data from an ethical point of view. Think of what algorithm Watch produced with its investigation, or the research of some NYU professors who have been banned from some social media for the collection of hate data, or the statements of Francis Hogan against Facebook Meta. I think it is central to investigate how AI can become an ally for a social media ecology. The limits between real and digital have disappeared. We have broken the limits imposed by time and space. So we have also crossed the boundaries of our skin with the fusion with devices. Let's think of biotechnologies. And this, from my personal point of view, can become a strength, but only if regulated through a new ethical declination. And today, about the protocols, I think that there are still no international protocols that can regulate the AI according to common perspectives, but we have a multiplicity of guidelines, regulation, declaration, but we have to understand that AI is a cultural product, and such as it will be declined on the basis of the models, values, and perspectives of each individual, society, and culture to which it belongs. So this is. Thank you, Sara.
Thank you, Professor Grassi. So I would like to go now to Dr. Bassini. So you worked on the Human Brain project, a scientific project in the field of computer science and neuroscience that aims to create within a couple of years, through a supercomputer, a simulation of the complete functioning of the human brain. How can research on the human brain guide us towards an increasingly sophisticated artificial intelligence?
Very, very good question. In reality, on 2023, it will happen that it will be close the first framework program agreement, and there will be another one for the next 5 years. So it's just a big milestone, which one that will be reached by the European scientific community on the Human Brain Project on 2023, but not the complete I mean, simulations of what it will be the physiological behavior of the human brain, which would be a very big challenge that it will take much more time. Nevertheless, going to the specific issues that you pose, the capacity of multitasking of the human brain, and the capacity of elaborating thinking and reactions is extremely powerful. So we are talking in excess of an exaflop of performance compared in terms of digital performance. There are two main reasons. One reason, and then with an extremely energy efficiencies. So we're talking about something in the order of 100 watt in terms of power capping. So our brains, it's capable to provide a performance in excess of an exaflop with a energy consumptions in the order of 100 watt. So that it's fantastic. One of the point is because there are some behavior of our brains in terms of quantistic, and we do know that the computational quantistic point would address an exponential performance capability. That is one part. The other part is because the complexity of our neural networks, it's so efficient that it would address extremely capacity of multitasking. So I mean, the learning about what will be the efficiencies of the human brain neural networks would have improved and impacted, and so there is a lot of interaction with respect of the optimizations of the neural networks used in machine learning and artificial domains and artificial intelligence domains. There is another very interesting point, which is the fact that our, let's say, artificial intelligence human behavior systems is quite strong from the point of view of the reverse engineering process, which means that you may go back and find how it was the algorithms at the very beginning of the story, and reconstructing what been the decisions process related to what will be the reaction in terms of intelligence, okay? Where that is not yet very full solved on the side of the artificial intelligence in terms of artificial, so in terms of computing methodology. That because in some house the codifications would be changed by the process of learning, and that would be very much significant, complicated, in some situation not easily to recertify the reverse engineering process, that it will lead to what it will be the intention of the programmers with respect of the process for decisions related to the artificial intelligence guided device. Generally speaking, what will be the decision in case of extreme event? Let's suppose the autonomous drivers car that have to decide how to react in front of an extreme situation. So I mean, who hurt with respect of having to decide if to potentially provoking a damage to maybe the passengers of the car, or potentially provoking a damage to the pedestrians, people that it would be in front of the car in case of extreme event. So that it's really very extreme situation that is led by the way in which the artificial intelligence on board the cards. I mean, the process will take it short for saving time in this intervention, but would impact what will be the way in which the programming has been embedded on board to the autonomous driving systems. In case of an incident, the reconstruction in terms of reverse processing related to what will be the decision at the very beginning of the story. So which kind of ethical implementations would be embedded into the artificial intelligence process systems on board of the car. It's really still very much a scientific challenge. Now, what is happening is that the human brain instead, it's really very strong from this point of view. In other words, we do know, we may do use for making multiplications the computers, okay.
Dr. Bassini, try to make it short because
yes,
the time is going.
I'm very closing, but at the same time, we are still remembers how to make multiplications using the pencils and the papers. So our process of learning is really very concrete. It could be reverse engineering, and that would learn a lot from this point of view in terms of what would be the process for impacting, studying the human brain process towards what would be artificial intelligence and the impact for improving artificial intelligence algorithms. That's all.
Thanks so much. And I'm going now to the sixth slot dedicated to cybersecurity. So we have said that artificial intelligence must not only be sustainable and ethical, but also safe. The development of a sustainable, ethical, and safe artificial intelligence requires the development of specific cybersecurity systems. And developing specific cybersecurity system can pose a major dilemma. So I would ask now to Professor Colajanni, more security and innovation, slower or less security, but speed in the development and application of innovation. How can we deal with this dilemma?
Yes, I don't think that the situation is so serious that we cannot think just to the speed of development. Cybersecurity must, and I say must, be a prerequisite for the entire digital society. We are connected to the internet, hundreds of devices and computers per minute. Let me say that at the end of this panel, we'll have a new, something about 50,000 new devices connected to the internet. And each of them has multiple vulnerabilities that some criminal can and will exploit before or later. So we cannot compete continuing to in this way. I mean, we are losing this battle. We are completely losing this battle. The damages of cyber attacks surpassed $1 trillion per year. So we should be aware of this and be strong enough to change the field of the battle and even the rule. I mean, we should invest. I suppose that we should invest, and I think that this joint collaboration with Canada, between our region and Canada, we should invest and support the production of secure devices and services by design. Is it possible? I can guarantee that it's possible to make similar secure products, but we know that at the production level, these products cost more. So we should socially support this production, because even if at the end of the production phase, they will cost more, if we look at the entire life of this product on a social level, we will save billions, and one day we will save life, because I mean, these devices will be connected to our body, to our cars, to our critical components of our society. I think that we are at the beginning of this, not really at the beginning, but we live like at the beginning of the industrial electrical power. If you remember, 80 years ago, connecting a plug to the electrical network could be really a risk. Not today, where each plant is certified and is much more secure. So I think that we should follow the same path in artificial intelligence, but even at the level of the entire digital product and services. We cannot continue in this way because we are losing a critical battle, and as more devices we are connected to create the so-called smart world, when the device that we will have, the cars and the other device, we will have autonomous decisions. I mean, our society will be very, very risky. To live in our world will be much more risky than now. So we should anticipate this risk now, because we are building the smart world now, and we should be aware about this.
Thanks so much. Now turning to Dr. Lagarde and Dr. Labelle. I have the same question for both of you. Can we consider cybersecurity as a prerequisite for sustainable development? I will give at first the stage to Dr. Lagarde and then to Dr. Labelle.
Thank you. Well, you know, I think that health and the health of environment is mostly tied to cyber command and control these days with the rise of technology. So I believe that cybersecurity is indissociable from sustainable development. When we think about transportation systems, water system, wastewater system, they're all tied with command and control systems that can be hacked, that are susceptible to cyber intrusion. And we can see the damage that those cyber intrusion can make. In the US, for example, water system in California and Florida, you have a lot of cases and examples of you know, what the impact of hacking can do on your local infrastructure. So those are systems that are very infrastructure intensive. They're depending more and more on command and control system. So I think that yes, cybersecurity is really a challenge, and more it will be associated with the health of environment, with sustainable development. You need to protect your data. You need to protect those systems. So yes, I believe those are the main challenges for these coming years.
Thanks so much, Dr. Lagarde. I'm giving now the stage to Dr. Labelle.
Oh, your mic is off.
I forget about that. I was saying, Dr. Colageni, you know, if you want to become a cybersecurity specialist, you're welcome. You have already, you know, you're talking the same way in the cybersecurity specialist. So I think you said that, you said a lot, and I think cybersecurity needs, as you mentioned, also needs to be right from the beginning of any evolution in technology. Any creation of new technologies, we need to think about it right from the beginning, because the cost of trying to basically correct some mistakes, it's really important. And also, as it was mentioned, you know, there's lives that could be threatened. Basically, there are organizations that could be threatened, basically, and some of our critical infrastructure also. So we really need to make sure that cybersecurity is part of any development process. These days, any evolution. The same way that when we build buildings these days, we're thinking about you know, the security of these buildings. So we should do the same thing with technology, basically. So yes, for me, it's becoming more and more important that you know, the cybersecurity is a prerequisite for sustainable development, and we see that more and more.
Thanks so much. We are now at the last slot. So we talk about how it is necessary to face the development of artificial intelligence by considering the paradigm of sustainability and keeping at the center the need for an ethical use of data and security, therefore aiming for a sustainable, ethical, and safe artificial intelligence, a factor that clearly requires more and more the construction of multidisciplinary teams. But does the market offer the chance of creating this scenario in terms of adequately training human resources? How is the situation in Italy and Quebec with respect to the supply and demand on the labor market for this skill? What skill does the development of ethical, sustainable, and safe artificial intelligence need, and how to incentivize the building of multidisciplinary teams? So I can give you now 30 seconds. I know that it's very few, but we have to close for each panelist. And I will give you now the stage to Professor Grassi.
Okay, briefly, I think I can close my participation by stating that on the current level, we know that it's human that solve problems, not machines. AI to date can draw on a pool of data information that are functional to the achievement of a goal, but lacking in understanding. It is a forecasting technology, but without a critical process capacity. Furthermore, I believe that Italy could provide many ethics scholars for research facilities in this field. And for its programming, I believe that data must be cataloged in the best possible way, following specific principles, guaranteeing adequate supervision based on the transdisciplinary approach. But above all, we have to consider that the capillary ramification of future technological developments. So thank you for the invitation, and thank you, Sara.
Thank you, Professor Grassi. I will give the stage now to Professor Colaiane.
In summary, what I realized from this great panel is that we agree on everything about cybersecurity. We should invest, we don't have any discussion about this, and we should collaborate to create an artificial intelligence smart digital society, and we will do. We have some doubts, some different opinions about investment in research and products and the limits represented by rules and ethics. And I can guarantee that Europe is not only the land of rules and the limits, but also a land of research and innovation. So don't look at us just as arbiters, but we are real good players.
The stage to Dr. Bassini for 30 seconds.
Just very direct. Are we keep with respect of the skills in terms of ethical data scientists available for the industries, the research and the innovation? The answer is no, definitely no. We're working very much in order to, and with many different actions for education, training, outreach, stages, expertise, and so on and so forth. The demand is absolutely increasing. That would pose issues in finding skills, employment, and facing what will be the increasing requirements and requests from industries. On one side, that is a good conditions, which mean that the process, innovation process, is quite strong. On the other hand, that pose an issue in terms of the systems for educating and providing educations, courseware, training, and so on and so forth, that it would be facing the very, very significant request and requirement.
Thanks so much. So I'm going now to Dr. Labelle.
Thank you. Human resources is a challenge in cybersecurity, basically. So we're looking at we're seeing I would say shortage, worldwide shortage, basically. So it needs to, and we know that it's multidisciplinary just for cybersecurity. So we need to look at it from really multidisciplinary, and also we need to start thinking of everyone should be also trained in cybersecurity, should have a concern of that, and should integrate that in everything they do. So that will be a way to meet that shortage of HR challenges or shortage.
Yeah, thanks so much. Dr. Lagarde, it's your turn.
Thank you. Well, again, I agree with all the panelists. I think that labor shortage is really a challenge for every country, provinces. It's the same with Italy and Quebec. And I think it provides a challenge, but also opportunities in terms of collaboration between countries. We have certain expertise. Italy has some also. I think that there are some rooms for collaboration between companies, between research centers, between universities. I think that's one of the biggest assets in Quebec is the talent pool. And I think that the relationship with European countries, of course, is one topic to be addressed, and it's an opportunity for us to extend the collaboration and increase it more with Italy. I think that there's a lot of issues on which we can collaborate more. I think cybersecurity, artificial intelligence are among those subjects.
Thanks so much. And finally, I'm going to Professor Boella.
I'm pushing for the National Plan for Recovery and Resiliency, financed by the European Union, to include these multidisciplinary aspects in the two partnerships, the one on AI and the one on cybersecurity, that will finance research in these topics. And as an employer, finding digital skills in general is really increasingly more complicated. Thanks.
Okay. Thanks so much. So the forum highlighted many points and different themes. From what has been said, a necessary and insoluble link emerged between sustainability, artificial intelligence, and economic development. The most important challenge is to ensure that artificial intelligence can facilitate sustainable economic development. In this regard, I now leave the floor to our experts for final remarks, which will be very important to recap what has been said so far. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much to everybody. Thank you very much, Sara, for the
well, thank you, Sara, and thank you to all the distinguished panelists for your presentation and insights. For this last segment of our closing ceremony, I would like to invite our next speaker, Ruben Sacerdoti, Director of the Regional Department for Business Internationalization and Foreign Direct Investment Attraction for the region of Emilia-Romagna. Ruben, the floor is yours.
It's nighttime in Italy. It's time that we are going to close. As a co-founder region of Canada-Italy Forum on AI, I would like to thank you all for your participation and for the incredible success of the third online edition that mainly focus on AI applications that favor the ecological transition. Thanks in particular to the Italian Chamber of Commerce of Montreal for the great job done and the skillful work of stitching and refining the event. When we started 3 years ago, during a period of strong economic, scientific growth and social openness, inclusion, it was hard to believe we would have to adapt to a new area affected by COVID pandemic, closed borders, and geopolitical tensions. Nevertheless, this third edition proves to be a great quality success. First of all, we have succeeded in bringing around the same virtual table leading experts from the academic, business, and institutional worlds of the two countries and the different regions involved. Emilia-Romagna, Lombardy, Piedmont, Quebec, other area of Canada and Italy. Now, I think we need to expand this cooperation further by involving more national and sub-national governments and even the whole European Union. During the three editions we have worked with, I think we have succeeded in deeply analyzing the most diverse application of AI for common good. Now we have to find a permanent way to share this know-how and make it available for the benefit of our businesses and institutions, promoting cooperation and joint projects. By closing this third edition, I think it's time concluding to give us an appointment for the fourth edition, the next one, hopefully finally in presence. And I suggest three very challenging objectives for the next edition, for the future. First of all, I suggest to transform this dialogue into a medium-term joint commitment. We are discussing the possibility of a memorandum of understanding between Emilia-Romagna region and Quebec government with the aim of creating a permanent platform of collaboration and co-financing joint initiatives in higher education, research and open innovation, startup development and industrial collaboration to be funded by both sides. In this way, we would jointly identify a multi-year plan for collaboration between our regions. Secondly, I think we have to open this dialogue to other countries and regions worldwide, maybe starting from the common adoption of the Montreal Declaration on a sustainable AI, and underline at the same time that this sustainable AI has to be also secure and protected from cyber attacks. Finally, I think it's very important to establish an open sub-national alliance between our regions, Quebec, Emilia-Romagna, Lombardy, and Piedmont, for a shared AI development to be jointly presented at the international level. So I suggest to start immediately from January 2022 from Expo Dubai, and to forecast a roadmap, a common roadmap for the next year and the following years. So, buon weekend a tutti e a bientôt. Grazie.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sacerdoti. I would now like to invite the Vice President of Foreign Direct Investment at Investissement Québec International, Daniel Silverman, for his address. Mr. Silverman, the floor is yours.
Merci. Merci à la Chambre du commerce italienne au Canada et particulièrement Madame Véron, Madame la Consul, Madame la Déléguée. Bonjour à tous. Thank you very much, everybody, for having me this afternoon. I've sat here in listen-only mode, and I will definitely say, as per earlier, I'm not one of the experts on this panel, but listening to all the encouraging words by everybody and talking about the sustainability of AI and the ethical and responsible AI, and is really something that touches close to home for the Quebec government and for us at Invest Quebec when we look at assisting AI businesses and expanding into Quebec with our partner Alexandre Lagarde from Montreal International. It was increasingly interesting to understand kind of the importance of cybersecurity and how you view how Quebec is operating on the cybersecurity side, and a little bit of talk about the potential cybersecurity innovation zones that we hope are coming anytime now. These innovation zones are expected to be announced shortly, but there's a lot of work that's being done here, and the International Observatory of Societal Impacts of AI and Digital Technology, the International Center of Expertise in Montreal on Artificial Intelligence, and MILA work on many projects to maximize the positive impacts of AI, while minimizing the negative ones here in Quebec, and we're very happy to be part of that. You know, the ecological impact of AI is really inseparable from the digital sector as a whole, particularly the energy-intensive sector, which we're all very cognizant of, especially coming out of COP26 last week and the last 2 weeks in Glasgow. And on that perspective, you know, Quebec likes to contribute to a more sustainable AI. We offer an electricity that comes from almost 100% renewable energy, which is mainly hydropower, so 99.8%, and is among the lowest cost in North America. So that adds quite an advantage to that. You know, on that front, you can count on Quebec to be highly collaborative with you, both in Italy and here. We have world-class ecosystems both in Italy and in Quebec, and I think a culture of innovation and collaboration amongst the universities, government, and private sector that are working together. As I had mentioned earlier, we play a very active role in Quebec's economic development with partners like Montreal International and others. We have financial ecosystem partners. We are the primary economic development agency for the province, as well as the financing corporation. And we will work on anything from business innovation to support entrepreneurship, business succession, increase investment, and accelerate Quebec's exports. So we play a pivotal role here, both on the international side, as well as domestically. 30 offices around the province, 35 delegations abroad, of which our delegate Mariana Simone is on the line, based in Italy. And this is not just on the AI side that we work in these sectors, it's manufacturing, it's life sciences, it's health technologies. So we're closely watching, the advances in AI technologies, not just in key sectors, but all sectors as it continues to grow. We're speaking to companies and stakeholders and scientists from around the world that are looking at the Quebec market and other markets to partner in. So if you have projects that we can help with, we're happy to be here. Feel free to contact the delegation, Mariana, myself, Alexandre, anytime. That's what we're here for. Thank you very much for participating in this event today. I told Alex just before this, my wife is Italian and gave me something to say in Italian, but I'm not sure I trust her that much yet. So I'm not sure what she was trying to get me to say, but thank you very much for the opportunity, and we look forward to hopefully seeing you here in Quebec or in Italy very soon.
Thank you, Mr. Silverman. Our next speaker is Ms. Marianna Simeone, Quebec delegate to Italy. Ms. Simeone, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Mr. Cremonese. Buongiorno, bon pomeriggio, bonjour. Je suis très, très heureuse d'être des vôtres aujourd'hui. Je vous parle cet après-midi et ce soir depuis la magnifique ville de Rome. J'aimerais d'abord et avant tout saluer la directrice de la Chambre de commerce italienne au Canada, Madame Danielle Virone. Daniel et moi partageons une vision et des valeurs communes quant à la qualité des relations Québec-Italie et je suis toujours ravie d'être au rendez-vous lors de ces initiatives. Thank you, Daniela. Thank you for inviting me to this third edition of the Canada-Italy Forum in AI, but above all, thank you for organizing it. This forum has become really a key event in the Quebec-Italy relations in AI, 2 days of stimulating thought-provoking discussions with our key actors in artificial intelligence. I'm so, so happy to be with you. And I've been connected online for the past, I think, hour and a half, 2 hours. It's just been sheer delight. I'm also very happy to see so many friends on the screen. Permettez-moi de saluer la consul générale de l'Italie à Montréal. Je sais qu'elle sera avec nous tantôt. La dottoressa Silvia Costantini, Silvia che non perde mai occasione per assicurare slancio, dinamismo alle relazioni tra l'Italia e il Quebec. Voglio salutare in modo particolare Ruben Sacerdoti, un partner essenziale per connettere le eccellenze dell'Emilia Romagna e del Quebec. Ruben, è sempre un immenso piacere rivederti, and I'd like to pick up on your last phrase when you spoke about transforming dialogue into joint commitment. Well, you have our firm commitment that we want to work closely with you, with your region, to make all these dialogues come to become projects and collaborations between Emilia Romagna and Quebec. You can count on us. Daniel Silverman, Alexandre Lagarde, wow, quel plaisir de vous voir. Bien qu'en vidéo, et nous avons vraiment hâte de vous recevoir en Italie maintenant que l'on recommence à accueillir des missions. I would also like to extend my warmest greetings to the panelists that spoke in the segment that preceded our closing remarks, Professor Grassi, Professor Colajanni, Mr. Bassini, Monsieur Labelle, Professor Boella. Thank you, really, thank you for your most interesting insights and for reminding us really how vulnerable we've all become and how today cybersecurity has become pivotal in every facet of our lives. In fact, you, Professor Colajanni, reminded us to anticipate risk. You said, let's anticipate risk. Well, that is what Quebec is exactly doing, and we're striving to do so. Our government, as you have heard, has recently tabled a bill to create a Ministry of Cybersecurity, the first of its kind in North America. It's charged with a portfolio of digital tech, electronic services, and security. Fascinating and promising, the evolution of AI still holds many, many unknowns, both for the public, for the experts, questions of security, of ethics. So your insight, your work, ladies and gentlemen, your research in this field really are fundamental in reassuring us all and in quelling our worries. Thank you for your contributions today. Let me take a moment to tell you quickly about our Quebec office in Italy, its role, its relevance here. Established over 55 years ago, right in Milan, with an exclusive economic mandate, the Quebec office in Italy has expanded considerably since those years in the 60s. And today it promotes and defends Quebec interests, certainly in business, but also in the arts, in culture, in immigration, in education, and in all those areas that are deemed strategic and that are priorities for both our societies. Research in artificial intelligence and all its applications in everyday life clearly fall within the areas of collaboration between Quebec and Italy, collaborations that we proudly promote and sustain. Now, over the years, Quebec has established key relations with Italian regions that share a common vision with us. And it is a real pleasure to see that these regions also participated in this forum. Lombardia, for example, which is home to the Milan Innovation District, and with whom we recently signed a memorandum of understanding for cooperation in health sciences, in research and innovation, and in good governance and investment attraction. There's Emilia-Romagna, of course, with which we have a constant and enriching dialogue on AI and its applications to health and to education. And then, of course, there's Il Piemonte, one of the regions with the highest number of French speakers in Italy. We enjoy a strong relationship with this wonderful region and its vibrant and dynamic environment. As Daniel Silverman made clear, the Quebec research and innovation ecosystem on AI specifically is vast. It includes many organizations, many groups. It's quite unique, in its composition. And typically, this is how we work in Quebec. You have the world of research working with and collaborating with the public, with the private sectors. You've got students, researchers, CEOs, even investors, all engaged in advancing research, in advancing innovation, knowing that really innovation is the key to competitiveness, to prosperity, to a better society, really to battling those major international challenges that we all face today. Our scientific and research ecosystems, make Quebec a very attractive partner in Canada, attractive for innovative Italian firms. In fact, the most daunting challenges of our generation, we've spoken about climate change, as we saw already at the last COP, and then of course, health, there's food security, cybersecurity. Now these fields, these disciplines, they're all governed by science, and the solutions to those challenges can all be found with the support of AI. There's one very big lesson that the COVID crisis has taught us all. It is that colossal world crises require both concerted efforts and research collaborations from different countries. For this reason, before leaving the screen, Silvia Costantini, let me thank again the Italian Chamber of Commerce in Canada for this great initiative. Kudos, really kudos to everyone who put this event together. We look forward to next year's edition. You can count on us for continued collaboration, support. The Italy-Canada Forum on AI is the perfect place to continue strengthening Quebec-Italy ties in science, in innovation, and Montreal, my hometown, is definitely the best place to host this forum. Thank you again.
Merci beaucoup, Madame Simeone. Our next speaker is Silvia Costantini, the Consul General for Italy in Montreal and Permanent Representative for Italy to the International Civil Aviation Organization. The floor is yours.
Grazie, allora buon pomeriggio a tutte e a tutti. Desidero innanzitutto ringraziare la Camera di Commercio Italiana in Canada, in particolare Madame Daniel Virone e la sua squadra per aver organizzato questa terza edizione in versione cosiddetta ibrida, come si dice adesso, digital, del Forum Italia-Canada sull'intelligenza artificiale, un appuntamento ormai diventato tradizionale. It is really a great pleasure for me to take part to this forum for the third time in a contest that always sees the participation of high-standing professional people and personalities of the academic and business world, including, of course, la Regione Emilia-Romagna, Arthur, la Regione Lombardia. Many highly important people have participated at this forum, and I'm very happy that the Italian participation is becoming more and more heterogeneous. Although always there is this kind of a certain lead by the Regione Emilia-Romagna. And I have to recall that the delegation from Emilia-Romagna that came here the first time in 2019 was actually chaired by who is now the Italian Education Minister, Patrizio Bianchi, then provincial assessore regionale, and a great expert in this field. Cela fait voir en fait la plus grande attention de la région Emilia-Romagna pour le secteur de l'intelligence artificielle. Et cela, on peut dire de la région de Lombardie et de l'Italie toute. Les arguments et les débats qui ont été faits pendant ce forum hier aujourd'hui ont été d'un indultable d'intérêt, surtout pour un certain emphasis qui a été donné au thème du développement soutenable et surtout maintenant qu'on vient de passer en fait les journées assez intensives des négociations à Glasgow pour la COP26. J'étais ce matin en fait avec le conseiller diplomatique de son Excellence le Premier ministre Lego qui en fait me racontait un peu de ces journées très hectiques à Glasgow. Donc les thèmes sur la santé, dans l'actualité, il ne faut même pas parler en fait de cela en ce temps encore très difficile de la pandémie qui continue. Et dans une période où nous continuons à vivre, sans parler des défis sur le plan éthique et philosophique que le développement de l'intelligenza artificiale bien évidemment nous pose. D'altronde sono questi temi su cui si sofferma la strategia italiana per l'intelligenza artificiale del 2020, che alcuni di voi e coloro che hanno partecipato a questo forum ieri e oggi hanno contribuito ad elaborare e a finalizzare proprio in un momento in cui l'Italia stava faticosamente uscendo dalla prima fase della pandemia, quella che ha purtroppo maggiormente e più tristemente colpito il nostro paese. La strategia si basa su 3 pilastri fondamentali. Artificial intelligence for the human being that helps defining the relations between man and machine, artificial intelligence for a digital ecosystem that is trustful, productive, and sustainable, and that looks at the industrial politics and the in general ecosystem of all the technologies associated with artificial intelligence, and last but not least, artificial intelligence for sustainable development that helps the actions aiming at really getting and reaching the sustainable development goal of the United Nations. In sintesi, una visione di quelli che molti definiscono la renaissance, o renaissance, il rinascimento, il nuovo rinascimento tramite l'intelligenza artificiale, con le sue implicazioni ovviamente collegate sul piano normativo, ma anche che richiedono una certa riflessione sull'etica e su un cambio di paradigma che è necessario nelle politiche pubbliche del governo. Recently, I've been extremely well impressed by the decision of 4 universities from Milan, Bocconi, Politecnico, Università Statale, Università degli Studi, to really unite together and to make and create a lot of synergies to create a real pole of research on artificial intelligence and machine learning. Leur façon de faire ensemble le système m'a vraiment rappelé tout de suite les exemples de collaboration qui existent parmi les universités ici à Montréal, cette fantastique ville qui ont permis de créer un écosystème dynamique qui rend cette merveilleuse ville l'un des pôles de plus important niveau à l'échelle mondiale. La collaboration entre les universités comme par exemple celle de Bologna, di Milano et Torino et autres, mais aussi avec le monde des affaires, les centres de recherche de et parmi pays différents est, selon moi, la meilleure recette pour garantir un progrès soutenable et équitable dans un secteur qui a différents aspects délicats. C'est la meilleure recette pour emphasiser et mettre en exergue un modèle ouvert, aussi à l'opinion publique, au lieu des modèles qui sont plutôt hermétiques et fermés e che peuvent engendrer des préoccupations tout à fait légitimes dans le public. La strada della collaborazione è quella che da 3 anni, grazie agli sforzi della Camera di Commercio italiana in Canada e sicuramente il sostegno molto forte della delegazione del Quebec in Italia, saluto molto caramente l'amica Marianna Simeone, Canada e Italia stanno percorrendo insieme una ottima strada congiunta di collaborazione. I really look forward to being with you, possibly physically, of course. A presto e grazie a tutti e a tutti per queste 2 giornate di interessantissimi dibattiti. Grazie, all'anno prossimo.
Grazie mille, Console Costantini. I would like now to invite Daniele Virone, Executive Director of the Italian Chamber of Commerce in Canada, for some of the closing remarks. I will be back shortly after that to wrap up the session.
Bonjour à tous. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Buonasera to our friends in Italy. As the Executive Director of Italian Chamber of Commerce in Canada, it is my great pleasure to address you at this time. It has been an enriching and thought-provoking 2 days. 65 leaders in highly advanced fields, researchers, scientists, entrepreneurs, government representatives, from Canada and Italy shared with us their leading-edge expertise and their vision for creating a better tomorrow. A tomorrow with a more sustainable future. A sustainable future which we can build and achieve together through collaboration. The concept of collaboration has been our guiding principle throughout the planning of the Canada-Italy Business Forum on AI. In fact, the objective is for the forum to serve as a hub to develop and strengthen collaborations between our Canadian and Italian partners. Through the exchange of ideas and know-how, joint R&D, technology transfers, investments, and many other forms of collaboration. The Chamber has focused this year's edition in the areas of health, energy, mobility, and circular economy, as these are promising sectors for the development of further collaboration between Italy and Canada. The presentations and discussions of the past 2 days demonstrate the real and concrete opportunities that our 2 countries can build on. As a follow-up to this conference, the Chamber will continue to encourage bilateral business exchanges in an effort to ensure that all collaborations are sustainable and beneficial to all parties. At the Chamber, we describe our work as creators of connections to foster collaboration. The AI Forum itself is a perfect example of how connections can create collaboration. It is through support, commitment, and generosity of our many friends and partners that an event like this becomes a success. I would like to begin by thanking our distinguished speakers, panelists, moderators, and rapporteurs for giving their precious time and sharing their insights and inspiring ideas. A heartfelt thank you to our many collaborators from Quebec, Canada, and Italy who shared with us their deep understanding of current issues, challenges, and opportunities in their respective areas of expertise. Our governments also play a crucial role in the development of policy to support a sustainable future. The forum would not have been possible without the support of the diplomatic corps of both countries. I would like to highlight the contribution of the Embassy of Italy in Canada, the Embassy of Canada in Italy, the Consulate General of Italy in Montreal. It would not be a Canada-Italy forum without our Italian partners. They provide a central component, a central ingredient in the success of the event. I want to thank the regions of Emilia-Romagna, who has been an instrumental partner in developing the vision of the forum from the very beginning. We couldn't ask for a more supportive and motivated collaborator. And Lombardy and Piemonte for adding their vital contributions to the forum. Major international events like this, yes, it is an international event, also require the financial support of partners who share the vision. We are fortunate to have many such partners, and I would like to extend our gratitude to all of them. A special thank you to BMO Bank of Montreal, the official presenter of the 2021 edition. BMO is leader among Canadian financial institutions in the investment of new technologies that will ensure a better future for our planet. To all of you, I say sincere thank you. Grazie mille. Merci beaucoup. And finally, on a personal note, I would like to thank my team for their dedication and incredible professionalism to make this forum such a success. A special thank you to Ruggera Sarcina, my colleague, who heads the Chamber's office in Italy. So many connections, so many opportunities for collaboration. Let's take a moment to celebrate the possibilities we have created and that lay ahead of us. Let us look forward to the future for the 4th edition of our Canada-Italy Forum in 2022. Until then, au revoir, arrivederci.
Thank you very much, Danielle. It has been a pleasure emceeing this forum, and this concludes the 3rd edition of the Canada-Italy Business Forum on Artificial Intelligence. We look forward to seeing you next year for the 4th edition. Arrivederci e grazie.